we automatically do communication like this, and really dependent on like because project there are projects which is like
Since want to ask if anyone wants to do a brief lightning talk, anyone? Because I mentioned my name not to. If no, then he will be the last one. No, okay.
Okay, hi everyone.
Yeah, so I'll introduce. So Er-Cheng Tang is a research engineer at Hashcloak, which is a company that works for severe colleagues. So he's going to be talking about challenges for internet anonymity. So yeah.
Thanks for introducing. And so I'm going to talk about challenge of internet anonymity, and that's not like the previous talks about DeFi, because our company works about the privacy part. So so basically, we focus on privacy preserving technologies and some designs on blockchain infrastructure. So I'm going to share about some privacy aspects, and we also do some blockchain and crypto consulting, and we have done some smart contract audits. And today I'm going to talk about the anonymity part. And usually when we think of like internet privacy, many people will tend to use like the most obvious solutions like Tor or VPN for someone. And these are not, I mean, these do provide some protections, but we might want to look more into that. So Tor basically, it puts layers of encryption over the content and metadata, and over randomly selected circuits of relays to like obfuscate the real sender and receiver addresses, and to make the adversaries cannot tell. But they have some issues also, like many websites will ban the Tor, the traffic coming from Tor, so there's accessibility issues. And it actually cannot resist sophisticated attacks. So if like there's a global adversary that can monitor the whole network, and they may track all the because in Tor there are and when you transmit something there are many hops, and they can track all the hops and see like the timing and all the for every hop the timing and all the metadata information, and to figure out which party is really connecting to the other party. So it actually cannot solve all the problems when we consider a strong enough adversary. And so there have some limitations on using Tor for a privacy solution. And the other part is sometimes considered is VPN, virtual private network, and it actually what it actually does is to proxy your traffics to another another address to another machine. And because it's run in the background, so like many people will use that because it's easier to like you use it without any obstacle or something. But the problem is that when you use like some VPN services for maybe commercial VPNs, they are run by a centralized company, and we are only giving our traffics to a centralized intermediary. So it actually doesn't provide any. It doesn't actually provide many protections. It just let the company provide our traffic. So if both of me and Yashin uses the VPN for some company, and if we trust the company, then the adversary may not tell which one of us is trying to connect to some website. But actually, this is because we are relying on a centralized party, so this can be a single point of failure. So in many cases, it's not a good choice. So these two are popular solutions, but as I've mentioned, there are also some problems with them. So let me add some quote from Bruce Schneier. He said that if you think technology can solve your security problems, then you don't understand the problems and the technology. So yeah, so we have to go more in depth to see what an attacker might want to do and how what the technology we are using, what they can prevent and what they cannot, and if there are some more situations we want to consider, what can we do. So basically, if the attack goal is to de-anonymize someone, there are basically 3 steps. First, you have to specify a target, maybe an identity. You want to like the anonymous maybe, or an IP address. You want to see who he is connecting to, and after you specify the target, you may want to record the characteristics, the traffics coming from that target, and the related traffics. So it may be using Tor, so you have to track maybe the outgoing traffics and the traffics from those nodes also, and many nodes. So you may want to characterize by the packet size or the timing these characteristics. You record them, and finally you make correlations about all the records you have to finally identify a routing path if you're using Tor or something, or and in the broad sense, you want to identify the parties and maybe their IP addresses, who is using this communication. So the attacks can come in many types. So the left-hand side is the passive attack. So it assumes that the attacker only records all the information and make analysis to de-anonymize someone. And the right-hand side is active attacks. So the attacker can maybe take more actions to influence the packet and like compromise something. So I'll be first talking about the left-hand side. For statistical disclosure attack, it may analyze the packet transmission and to for some infrastructures, you can only know maybe A is talking to B or C or D. You can only recognize that there's a set of parties he may be connecting to, but you cannot identify which. But if you collect these data for the long term, you can ultimately do refinements on your guesses and to figure out who the party is really connecting to. So this is the statistical disclosure. That is a long-term collection of these anonymous sets and make refinements. And for the timing correlation, it's just see all the transmissions and their timings and to try to figure out their cause and relations about these transmissions to figure out who is doing the communication. And for epistemic attack, it is to maybe some party is using Tor, and you maybe can see that he's always connecting to some nodes. So he may only know that these nodes as relays. So maybe you will know that the afterwards nodes are all those specific nodes because he's always trying to connect to those nodes only, and you may be using that information to narrow down your the identity of your target. So it's to use that the victim's view is just a small portion of the entire network, and to identify based on that. And for the right-hand side, the active attacks, there's a compulsion attack. So when A connects to a node, but like for example using Tor, but you don't know that. For example, using a network that provides more privacy, but so maybe you A connected to a node B, and then you don't know that the later packets sent by B, maybe there are 3, and you don't know which one is the one that is associated to the A's packet. But we may, like some powerful agencies, we may try to like compromise the node. So, for example, for legal issues or buy out debt, or maybe the agencies may save some 0 days and do automated attacks. So he may try using this compromise to figure out the next hop, the node. He may try to figure out the outgoing packet, which one is associated to the original, and so he knows that he not only knows that the first hop, the node of the first hop, he also knows the node of the second hop, and by using this gradually compromise, he may figure out the entire path and to know that which part is he really connecting to. So this is compulsion attack, and tagging attacks is mainly that because there may be some nodes to serve the network, so that packet is not directly transmitted to our receiver, but the nodes may be run by some malicious party, and they may use some tagging because so every node plays a role to transform the incoming packet to the outcome packet, and image like slightly change the outcome packet so that if the packet later goes to another node run by the adversary again, he can identify that this node was the one that I previously modified. So this is the tagging attack. So it means that the intermediary nodes, the adversary doesn't have to know, because he can later identify that this is the one that I previously saw. And this lowers the privacy, the anonymity. And the final is the denial of service. So maybe like just flood some node so that you only allow a packet that of your interest to the node, and you flood other, and you put other packets that the adversary sends to the node, so that you know that you can correlate the incoming packet and outgoing packet of your target, because other packets you can easily know that these are created by yourself. Yeah. So these are some of the attacks that may be using to try to de-anonymize the effort you may do to enhance your privacy. So to solve these issues, well, not solve all issues, but we may want to try to solve some of the issues we mentioned. And so we may define some goals. So for the security part, there are the sender-receiver third-party unlinkability. So this basically says that you cannot distinguish if A is talking to B, C is talking to D, or A is talking to D and B is talking to C. And this is under the passive attack scenario. Yeah, we can achieve this by letting the intermediary nodes do something that so the adversary cannot tell that the two incoming packets which are which for the outcome of the related outcoming packets. Yeah. So we want to achieve the unlinkability probability and also the sender anonymity. So this is basically if the adversary is the receiver, he cannot tell who is really talking to him. And the receiver anonymity is if the adversary is the sender, he will not know which address is he really talking to. This is also achievable. and we want that there's fault tolerance, so the nodes may be acting faulty or malicious. So we also want robustness against many active attacks just mentioned. But doing these stuff, we also add some like inefficiencies. So the two main effects will be the latency and throughput, increase the latency of the network you're using, or the throughput. So this will be acting as a trade-off, but we still want to like make a balance between these. And also we want that this whole thing can be scalable. So to provide more nodes and more parties to join in, and the efficiency of individual nodes. So these are the goals we might want to achieve. So there are some proposals trying to mitigate these problems. So these are mixed networks. So I've just put in some examples like anonymous post office protocol, or Respost, or Lupix Atom. And so using mixed networks, most of them can resist against passive attacks. But for active attacks, there still are many like partial solutions, but they cannot solve them all because there are still some like unknowns there's still some problems that are unsolvable. Like the long-term statistical disclosure attack. If they collect enough information, and for the long term, it can finally identify who is possibly talking to who, and this simply cannot be solved because like there are people online and offline, and these will affect the packets flowing on the network. So these will ultimately be collected. Yeah, it cannot be really covered or something. Yeah. So so basically my talk ends there. I'm just trying to pull out some of the attacks and what we want to achieve to prevent these attacks. Yeah, and thank you everyone.
What are zero knowledge proofs? Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you're talking, I'm kind of confused at the last slide there. So there's like a couple bars there. I was wondering whether they have any meaning.
Oh, no.
Is that like some sort of okay?
Oh, no. There's just
okay.
A picture, yeah.
And so, second question. I was like, this must be some awesome infographics that I'm not getting out. So the other question is, and I might get it wrong, but like since you're presenting this, are you guys like working on this sort of solutions that, and is it any of them, or like these things are not?
Oh,
you know,
so
like,
yeah.
cannot compare
So
to yours.
we are not actually working on mixed networks, but we are using mixed networks to integrate how we access blockchains.
I see.
Yeah, and we are trying to come up with like integrate them into a client and server and to run these things. Yeah, yeah. So the goal of our goal is to provide privacy when we use blockchain. Yeah. So yeah.
So if I understood correctly, perhaps the infra provider, and then your stuff, and then people go through you. So that's not.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone. Because we ran this place till 6 o'clock. It's almost 6 o'clock. But we'll be staying around. If you like to grab something to eat, and you can stick with me.